Anna Duggar was born into a family who raised her to be the wife of a guy like Josh Duggar. She was taught to respect and appreciate the authority of men in her life. As a child, she had very little. Her family lived in a small trailer, and her father devoted his time to prison ministry. She was told her only hope for salvation and a better life was her total and complete obedience to a God full of expectations and rules, as outlined by the men in her life. And it was beaten into her heart and mind by the teachings of the IBLP.
Remember this?
It's going to be a lot of fun to be here and spend time with Joshua and just help him out however I can.
Fundamentalist girls are groomed from infancy to be submissive wives. Anna knew that if God was bringing her Joshua, that her job was to be a helpmeet or a helper to him in any way that he needed, ever. This means it doesn't matter what he did, not to her. She will choose and help Joshua at the expense of her children, herself, above every other priority. Her salvation depends on it. The Bible says that if you remain pure, that you will become a good utensil, a valuable utensil to your master. So yeah, Anna did stay nights with him while he was on bail, and she left her children, and she held his hand through that heinous trial. It's not as easy as saying that fundamentalist women should change their minds because they don't know they have one.
Marriage, when you learn to put others first, and when you're willing to give, that's when you're fullest and when you're happiest. Just focus on the positives, because there are times it's like, oh my, he didn't take out the trash, but it's like, but you know what, at least I have a husband, he's working, I could be out working and taking out the trash if I didn't have a husband.
Some people have come to hate Anna Duggar, but long before she was Josh's wife, she was a child, growing up in a difficult situation, a childhood that shaped who she is today. And finally, a childhood friend of Anna's is speaking out. Reddit Duggar Snark has verified the identity of this poster, and here is what she has to say in her AMA about growing up with Anna. Alright friends, I found this AMA so insightful. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. The title of the post reads, I grew up closely connected with Anna Duggar and her family for 20 plus years. Ask me anything. The moderator states, this AMA has been verified. Please do not discuss the identity of the original poster. Question. Did Anna and Josh have an actual courtship, or was she just surprised into an engagement? Answer. They had a courtship, if you define courtship as two families having back and forth negotiations without the actual input of the girl involved. There was no wooing, but several weeks of phone calls with sibling chaperones on another line. Response. That makes this even worse now. Her parents negotiated this person to like Josh. Do they even regret it now? Response. I highly doubt they regret it. There's always a way to spin anything, and now they're even more famous in the quiverful circles. Their family wasn't allowed to court before age 20, but the goal was to be engaged at 20 immediately, so they had everything prearranged so that at midnight when she turned 20, they could be courting while he drove to Florida to propose. Question. In the TV show, she seemed completely blindsided by the proposal, but then seemed to be completely for it after the commercial, like she remembered how she should react in public. Did she expect the proposal at all, or just not in the restaurant? Response. She didn't expect him to show up that day because he had lied and said he was home in Arkansas as part of his surprise. I think she expected to be engaged ASAP, but was in genuine shock he was there in person, or maybe she was just head over heels at the man proposing with balloons. Question. Is Priscilla so naive and childlike in real life? Response. 1,000 million %. Question. Does the family or broader community actually buy into the Josh is innocent lie? Response. No, not at all. He's a creep, and if you spent 20 minutes with him, you knew it. I think there are a couple siblings who maybe think he could be innocent, but for the most part, it's widely accepted he's not innocent. Question. So they're sticking by for pride then? Isn't that a sin? Don't they hold all sin in the same value? Make it make sense. Response. Of course, all sin isn't the same. If a man commits a sin, it's forgiven as a moral failure. If a woman or non-binary person commits a sin, it's damnation, clearly. Question. Has she ever been self-aware or always gullible and overly naive? Answer. She was very self-aware, opinionated, headstrong, funny, and smart. Naive was a basic concept we were all born within that cult through. You have to set aside your personality when you get married. Question. From your perspective, did she repress all those traits, which I'd consider positive ones, when she married? Do you think any of that old Anna is still in there? Thank you so much for your time. Answer. Yes, that's very common, and she watched multiple of her older sisters do the same thing. Her older sister's testimony about how she sobbed for 3 days when her dad told her who she had to marry, and that was who she held up on a pedestal for us as a gold standard. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to die to yourself, an actual phrase we heard over and over in regards to courtship marriage. So once her dad decided he wanted her to marry Josh, she had to conform. Question. Is that Esther who married John Schrader? I'd have sobbed for days too, yikes. So this question is about Anna's oldest sister, Esther, who got married and actually moved away to Africa to become a missionary and still lives there with her husband, John Schrader. And so the person who's questioning is asking, is it Esther who cried a lot? Okay, and the response is yes, and also yes, if you think Josh is bad. That's so sad. So she's saying Esther has a pretty difficult marriage to be in. Question. Do you think Anna had any sort of actual knowledge about S before her wedding night, or was she blindsided when the time came? Response. Absolutely not. Question. Do you have regular contact with her or Josh? Answer. Nope. The walls closed in real tight when the babies started being made. Question. That's interesting. Do you believe that it was Anna's choice? And she's talking about the fact that Anna isolated herself after getting married. Or do you think Josh, the Duggars, isolated her from her former friends? Answer. She was publicly encouraged during their wedding ceremony to isolate herself from friends. Question. Why is that? Answer. My speculation is her parents knew people would talk and try to open her eyes to the truth of what an awful situation she was in. Question. How was that said or encouraged? And thanks for answering our question. Answer. During a prayer that I believe was edited out of the episode. So the responder is talking about how she attended Anna's wedding, and during the wedding she claims there was a prayer that wasn't put in the TLC episode that basically said, we pray that Anna will, confine herself to her husband, spend most of her time around her husband, basically saying that she should isolate herself more and come to being or accept that she was going to be part of the Duggar family. And the responder also says, yeah, I really hate TLC for how much they were involved in covering up stuff for them and elevating their incredibly harmful belief system. Then again, people watched. Question. What is Anna like personality-wise? Answer. She used to be really sassy and funny and outgoing. Response from a questioner says, wow, I never expected that. Answer. She always got in trouble for talking back and being too loud or having too much fun. Question. Do you think they did the marriage to reel her in? There's been speculation one of the 19 kids had that happen and their wife was the same way. And they're claiming this is Lauren and Josiah. Answer. I think that it probably would have happened regardless of who she married. That was just how it was supposed to go when you got married. But this just happened on a horrific and public level. Question. There's been rumors that she is very rude and very jealous when it comes to IBLP standards. Did you personally ever witness anything like that? Not just with the Duggars, but in general. Answer. I never knew her to be that way. Some of the Duggar and Bates sisters, on the other hand, ... Response. Who's the rudest? Answer. Aaron and Jana. Question. Did you eat the crab salad at the wedding that was mixed by bare hands? Answer. Absolutely not. That was the worst wedding reception I've ever been to in my life. Question. How did you find out about our Reddit community? Meaning, were you Googling the Duggars and we popped up, or was it from links or news articles? I'm always curious. Answer. A friend of mine from real life loves this subreddit and asked me to do an ANA. Question. Does she talk like that in real life? I just have a hard time imagining her in a normal conversation talking like that. Answer. I haven't watched this show, so I don't know how she appears to talk on it. Question. In the show, she has a very quiet, slow, almost crawling through cement voice. Quiet and sweet. Answer. No, that's definitely not the real her then. Question. Were you at the wedding? What was it like? Answer. I was at the wedding. It was super weird to see something being filmed like that, but otherwise was a traditional quiverful type wedding. It was way longer than what it was edited to fit the televised show though. Question. Do you believe she is an enabler to Josh, or is she a real victim? Answer. She is both. I view it as a Stockholm syndrome type of situation, especially in the beginning. I have zero doubts he abused her. I have zero doubts she was brainwashed into believing she has no options and this is the life she has to live. However, as a mother, she is now complicit in compromising her children's safety. Follow-up question. With Josh in prison, how is a woman like her typically dealt with headship-wise? Does it revert back to her father? Would it be her husband's father, or does she gain the power? Answer. Because of her living situation, I believe it is her father-in-law. If she moved back to Florida, it would be her father. I also know that there is a family that has sort of taken an adopted headship role in their lives. Question. How does one escape the quiverful cult? Just hypothetically, would it be possible for Anna if she chose to? Answer. I generally don't know if it's possible for her specifically at this point. I know if she wanted to, she could leave tomorrow. All she has to do is ask. But getting to the point of knowing that's an option is almost impossible with the type of brainwashing she's received over a lifetime. Question. Was she genuinely happy in life? If so, did she seem like that after her marriage as well? Answer. She was genuinely happy throughout her childhood, as much as you could be in the circumstances that we were raised in. Follow-up question. What was their life situation like growing up? Answer. Pretty terrible. An old trailer in rural Florida. One room for the boys, one room for the girls. Question. How did you escape this system? How are you doing today? Answer. Left without a penny to my name and never looked back. Question. What is the overall opinion of her in the community? Answer. Pity. Question. Before Josh was ever in the picture, what type of person did Anna think she would marry? What was her type? What kind of friend was Anna to her friends? Was she genuine, kind, phony, bossy, meek, or funny? Answer. I think she was more attracted to tall, non-greasy, non-sweaty guys, so Josh really came out of left field. As a friend, she was fun and caring, a little bossy as one is when they are used to bossing a million little siblings around though. Nothing more than any of the other families with older daughters. She was also hysterical and witty. Question. What was the wedding guest perspective on the loyalty song? Answer. We all unfortunately were singing along in our heads because we all knew it. Yep, it's a kid's song. You might be surprised to hear it wasn't the first time it had been sung at an ATI wedding. Question. When it comes to courtship, was there a feeling that Anna had married well because of the TV show, or was there a feeling that she was just the first girl to say yes to him in the IBLP crowd? Answer. I think in those circles, yes, it was viewed that she married well because of the TV show. Power and visibility was more important than actual moral character, so all that mattered was that she was married to a higher class family of power. Their families were connected by a mutual friend who actually wasn't really part of the IBLP world that much, so it was less about their IBLP circles overlapping and more about the setup. Question. I'm just wondering if you think Anna will marry off her kids young like she was, or do you think she'll let them make their own decisions? Answer. I hope they will be able to wait longer, at least long enough to develop their brains fully. They won't be able to make their own decisions fully, though, if they were raised the same way that we were. Questions. Even though you haven't spoken to her in a long time, do you still hear updates and such about how she is doing occasionally? Answer. I do still hear things as I'm connected through mutual friends and siblings. Question. Did the Kellers go out of their way to hitch Anna to Josh because he was on TV, or would they have been happy to palm her off to any Tom, Dick, or Harry and the TV thing was just a bonus? Answer. It was all about power and who you were connected to in ATI, and her dad sold her off to the highest bidder. Question. If Anna were reading this right now, what would you want her to say? What would you want to say to her? Answer. I think I would want her to know that she is loved, and even though she absolutely doesn't believe it herself, she does have the power within herself deep down to leave and find a better, abundant life for herself and her children, no matter how absolutely terrifying that concept might seem. Question. Any tips for those who aren't out yet but wish they could be? Answer. Reaching out to a domestic violence center in your area is the easiest way to go about finding resources, and also strangers on the internet who are extremely kind and generous. Question. Was Anna always completely deferential to her father, Josh, religious authority figures, or was there a point she had a rebellious spirit that had to be crushed out of her? Answer. I honestly don't know. Her family's belief system was very severe and extreme, even for our circles, so I don't have a lot of hope for her ability to find a way out. She definitely got in trouble for having too much of an opinion or too much of a spirited attitude. It was crushed out of us pretty hardcore all the time, though, so by the time she was told who she was supposed to marry, all semblance of self-advocation would be gone. Question. Did she have any hopes or dreams apart from getting married and pushing out babies? Answer. She hoped to be a missionary and travel to Europe with ATI. Question. How was CSA treated in your home church? Answer. CSA was covered up. If caught, people would be counseled and then have to confess publicly to a moral failure. There were multiple police officers in our home church, and despite extensive physical abuse, multiple incidences of statutory R, CSA, etc., nothing was ever done. Question. I was curious how her other siblings were. I know a few left, so did they ever show that they didn't believe that what the family or cult believed? Was it hard for you to leave? Did she show an interest in someone, but the family forced her to marry Josh? Answers. Some of her siblings left that belief system. One of them went back semi-recently, I believe. I would say it's about 60-40 for them still being in the belief system. There's at least one sibling who will acknowledge what a scumbag Josh is openly. It was super hard to leave when that's your only community in your entire world. Nothing makes sense outside of it for a while. I don't think she ever had a specific interest. I mean, there were always cute boy crushes growing up, but nothing serious because that's not allowed. Question. Do you know if the Duggar girls really accepted Anna in as one of their own when she married Josh, or do you think they still associate with her now that she's in jail? Answer. No, I don't think they ever did accept her. I'm not sure what their current dynamic is, but it wasn't close outside of her and Jill, which now that Jill is sort of distanced herself, I can't imagine they are still close. In this world, you're supposed to reject your former family and make your husband's family your new true family. Question. What was her education like? Answer. Horrific. Homeschooling is generally lower quality education, but this was incredibly neglectful from an education standpoint. I would say 6th grade level at best, but gosh, they sure could memorize chapters of the Bible and all of the character qualities Bill Gothard believed were important. But a couple of worksheets a day and way below grade level is not an education. Also, their family stopped homeschooling at 16, which is illegal in Florida. Question. Do you know how Anna's siblings feel regarding Josh and Anna currently staying with him? Any insight into the Keller siblings dynamic? Answer. Most of them are pretty tight-lipped, but there are those that wish she would leave. After the first sibling SM's Ashley Madison thing happened, multiple siblings tried to get her help to get her out. Question. Was she happy courting Josh, or did she think this was some sort of duty? Answer. Courtship is always a duty. Question. I'm interested in why Susanna continues to be involved with Ma and Pa Keller after leaving fundamentalism and seeing all the awful things they've done. Any thoughts? Answer. I think sometimes you just want to still be able to have a mom and dad because it's hella hard not to have anyone. Question. Were you around Anna and Josh when he was courting her? If so, how did she talk about him and the relationship when the cameras weren't around? Answer. Their courtship was only 12 hours long or something like that, so the cameras weren't around until they got engaged, basically. My impression was that she was slightly nervous, but I chalked that up to none of us wanted that life deep down. Question. What did they actually tell her about Josh's past when she was getting into their courtship or engagement? What did she really know? Answer. Everyone in those circles knew what Josh was like. One of the first things her brother said when they were talking in their pre-courtship phase was how Josh was one of the most perverse, disgusting guys he'd ever met, and he was pissed his sister was going to have to be subjected to that. It was not a secret that he had SM'd his siblings either when they were pre-courting, so when she was 19. It was on the internet and forums because I Googled him myself. I wonder if TLC had a hand in quieting that information as they grew in popularity. When the scandal broke, I was surprised because I thought everyone knew already. Question. Did Priscilla have, or was she in some type of an accident that caused developmental issues? Has she always had difficulty expressing her thoughts clearly and succinctly? Answer. Priscilla is one of the kindest, sweetest people you'll ever meet. I don't think it's fair for me to comment on someone's medical history, but I will say there was acknowledgement of something being different, having different needs, but there was no extra help or intervention ever given. Question. Do you know if Jim Bob and Michelle still genuinely believe he's innocent, or is that just their narrative? Answer. I don't think they believe he's innocent, and I took their statement after his guilty verdict as acknowledgement of his guilt. Question. What is something you would like people to know about Anna, the child, teen, or young adult? Answer. She had a lot of potential, and if she had just been able to break out of that world, I think she would have gone on to have a great life and be someone you'd enjoy hanging out with. She was spunky and mischievous and hilarious. Question. There has always been something really off about Anna's dad aside from the obvious cult behavior. Does he harbor a lot of self-hatred or anger that he suppresses with his devoutness? Do you have any thoughts on why Anna's dad is exceptionally odd among his peers? Answer. He is truly one of the most arrogant, evil, manipulative people I've ever met. I couldn't tell you why he is that way, but he is. He is not that much different from many other fathers that I met over the years, personally and behavior-wise. Question. Is your family still involved in the cult, and were you ever courted? Answer. Not ATI in particular, but some of my family is still part of that more extreme belief system. Some of my family is still in extreme denial there was anything majorly wrong with it. I am the only one that left. Question. With her father's prison ministry, do you think she was groomed to grow up and marry a man who had troubles like Josh? Answer. I think they were definitely exposed to things that absolutely should not have been exposed to at such a young, impressionable age. Do I think her dad being a prison missionary made her more likely to marry a troubled guy? No. I think being raised in an oppressive to women environment gives men the ultimate power and zero accountability while also being exposed to hypersexualized spiritual content is what groomed her and many others to marry men like Josh. That world attracts and cultivates people like him. Question. What was discipline and punishments like for Anna and her siblings? Did her dad make you uncomfortable? Answer. Spankings were common at all ages. Other punishments would be to memorize scripture about a long particular thing, go sit in the shed and read your Bible for an hour, etc. Her dad made me very uncomfortable. Question. Was Anna the golden daughter of the Keller family? Answer. Absolutely not. Question. Who was? Esther, for sure, is the answer. Question. Several times on social media, Anna made comments that came across as her throwing shade at Michelle. To your knowledge, did she not like her mother-in-law? Answer. I don't think she ever felt accepted into their family. She was also made to babysit all of the Duggar children for extended periods of time, multiple times when she was pregnant herself, and generally used as another oldest daughter, somebody to take Josh off their hands. I can't imagine you wouldn't resent that. Question. When Josh went to rehab, Anna let at least one of her daughters wear pants. What do you think happened there? Would an ATI wife be able to flout her husband's rules a bit if he was gone for a few months? Answer. Anna and Josh let some of the ATI standards go from the beginning of their marriage, music, TV shows, etc. So I'm guessing, as with everything loosening up, that was just the next thing. Most fundamentalists these days are less focused on the clothes, which in my opinion is kind of even more dangerous because you don't realize someone is so toxic because they appear normal from the outside. Question. How impoverished was Anna's upbringing? Like, were they food insecure? Answer. They had food and enough for all the kids. A lot of medical neglect occurred, in my opinion, specifically with the two siblings right before her. They had AC, air conditioning, an above-ground pool, pets, a trampoline, and a homemade tennis court. So outside of there not being enough room in their trailer for all the kids and the medical stuff, they were okay. Question. Did Bill Gothard go to their wedding? I know he was at Priscilla's and David's. I don't think Bill Gothard went to the wedding unless I had a stroke and missed him. I am sure he would have been on camera if so, and he definitely wasn't. SA is and was a regular occurrence. It would be easier and faster to name the family's children who didn't experience SA. I don't know of anyone who has downloaded stuff like Josh, but I know many who abuse their sisters, friends, daughters. I didn't marry into the cult. I'm grateful every day I didn't get stuck in a shitty marriage with 10 kids and a goat. All right, I'm going to stop there, guys. There may be some additional questions and answers that will come out by tomorrow. I found this AMA so interesting, and I'm actually getting ready to head off to bed, but I wanted to go ahead and share it with you now. I hope you guys are having a great night and that you take some time to head down your own rabbit hole.